Hey, I'm D'Angela.
And I'm David, and we're work spouses. Yep, you heard it right, but not the type that you're thinking of.
We realize you spend more time with people at work than you do with the people you love most.
We're going to discuss the interactions such as the games played at work, building the right and avoiding the wrong relationships. D'Angela and I, we're currently work spouses.
Join us each week as we testify, help, and complain about work in corporate America. Welcome back, co-workers.
Welcome back. Hey, how you doing?
What's so funny, David?
What's so funny is, I don't know, I'm kind of like tired. Sometimes you get tired, you get silly.
Oh, like children. That's how children act.
That's how children act. Yeah, okay. Yeah, then my childishness.
You have a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, right?
I got an every-year-old.
Well, then you know.
Yeah, but you don't. When you get sleepy, what do? You just, let me guess. You just lay down and go to sleep.
No, I just don't talk.
You just don't talk. Okay, you start shutting down slowly.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I think when I get sleepy, everything becomes funny. I just start laughing at stupid stuff.
I experienced that too. I just think, but sometimes I'm just kind of like mellowing it down and just like, oh yeah. Because I don't have much to contribute if I'm sleepy. I can't exert so much energy if I'm tired.
Yes. What time do you normally go to sleep?
During quarantine?
Okay, yeah, during quarantine. Yeah, good question.
Sometimes 10, 11 o'clock, sometimes 2, sometimes 1.
Oh, you just do whatever what your body says.
Kind of. I haven't really been taking any melatonin. I said I would if it was continuing, but because I don't sleep, I don't take a nap throughout the day. Yeah. I'm not at the point where I agree. I'm not having that just because I'm home, because I don't want to mess up my sleep pattern. But I also know my sleep pattern is the way it is because I'm not exerting as much energy too, because I'm not leaving the house, kind of working out. Like that's really why you need to rest. So it's sometimes, but it's only on the weekends. Sometimes I'm up late, but I don't try to stay up on the weekends late anyway. Like I never did before, just because of the weekend. So I'll try to cut it off like 2 o'clock.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because you think about it, like 2 o'clock, if you clock in at 7:30, 8 o'clock, you still got enough time. Because you don't need that much time to get ready anymore.
So in terms of work and productivity, do you feel like, would you rather do a morning meeting or afternoon meeting?
Morning.
Okay. So do you feel like you're most sharp in the morning?
Yeah, I'm a morning person. Like as far as productivity, I'm most productive in the morning. Give me all that you need out of me in the morning, blah, blah, which I think you are too. I think I remember you being that way too. Yeah, we were both morning people. So do you think that matters in a relationship? In a marriage, since you're married?
Right. When I was able to convert my wife to a certain extent. It's like when we first started dating, and like she would spend a night, like I'm going to sleep still like at 9:30, 10 o'clock, because I'm waking up early.
Right.
And sometimes she just stay up in the living room till 12 o'clock, then join me in the bed later. So that it was probably like that for the first couple of months.
Oh.
Then now it's like when I'm ready to go to sleep, she goes to sleep.
Well, that's because she's waking up probably at the same time as you. Is that right?
No. She's still sleeping just a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, right now during quarantine, I'm probably rolling out of bed at 6:15, sometimes 5:45, whatever. Cause I don't do the alarm. Whatever my body wakes up.
Okay.
That's where I go. Sometimes 5:45. The latest normally 6:15, and she's probably like in the bed on her phone by 7:15, 7:30.
Okay. That's not too late, as far as a morning person. Most people, they don't even hit me up before 8 o'clock. So.
Yeah, but I was able to convert her. Every now and then she may want to watch something late.
Yeah.
And I kind of like shut it down, because I need to go to sleep.
You shut it down?
because there's multiple rooms with TV. So if you really need to watch TV, go out there. Don't watch it in bed.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You don't got to go to bed when I go to bed.
Yeah.
Oh, but then
just respect that I'm going to bed, basically.
Yeah. I think during the quarantine, I haven't really been tripping. I just been falling asleep no matter what.
Throughout the day, or just meaning like at times when it's time to go to bed at night?
When time to go to bed, she could watch a movie still in bed, and I'll just fall asleep to the movie and not care.
Yeah.
But I think I was more strict when I knew that I had to get up. But now you don't have to take a shower in the morning. You can take a shower at 9:00 during a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Do you do that? Have you changed up those type of habits of yours because you've been home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
sometimes
not.
I shower in the morning. Sometimes I shower. Yeah. Now it varies. When I was working going in, shower in the morning all the time. But now it varies like what time of the day.
Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, I haven't changed up that part of my regimen. I still showering at night. I'm still doing the same things because some of the things I know is this is a temporary thing. So I don't want to adjust too well to that temporary thing when I'm still going to have to get up in the morning and have a routine and commute. You know what I mean? So, but I can understand the shower thing because that varies for everyone, because I know a lot of people take showers in the morning because it wakes them up.
Right.
Whereas I don't like taking showers in the morning because my nighttime shower routine is longer than me getting ready in the morning.
Yeah.
So I get ready in 30 minutes, like from makeup to dress in 30 minutes and out the door.
Gotcha. You don't put makeup on at work?
No, I don't put makeup on. I'm not taking that crap to work and then gotta do that's extra time. I don't like feeling boggled down by having extra tasks to do. Like feeling incomplete when I leave the house. Incomplete. So
okay.
So yeah. Yes, let's dive into today's topic. Yeah.
So today we're talking about standing up for rights in the workplace and in the home,
in the workplace, in your personal life, in your private life.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite shows used to be, well, it still is.
What?
What Would You Do? The TV show.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, with John Quinones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, those are always good social experiments. And I always find myself thinking that I'm going to do what's
those
right.
Things.
Speak up, right.
Do you really think so? You think you would be caught in the moment doing that?
Yeah, the only thing that
I know you pretty well. I think you'll get busted in a few of them and take money or do certain things like that.
The only thing that I may question or maybe hesitant is domestic violence.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You just gotta be. You gotta really think it through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Like in terms of if you're gonna intervene, you gotta really think it through.
Yeah.
So yeah, those. But for the most part, any type of wrongdoing, sometimes it's hard for people to just stand up for right, speak up, find their voice, advocate for others, and things of that nature. Do you think that there's a difference between of course, there's a difference between personal life and professional life. Like, where do you kind of draw the line in terms of not bringing personal issues to professional life, or if you have a personal issue, or if there's a social issue that's kind of personal to you, do you bring that to work? Like, how do you handle that, or have you observed?
Not typically, no. You? What about you?
I mean, normally, I think for the last probably since 2012, it's probably been a lot of social issues, especially around Black people, racism, around just different injustices. A lot of it because of cell phone cameras, because of surveillance. We're able to see a lot of the wrongdoings and things, and the treatment of others to our brown and Black brothers, things like that. So I think since then, even for the last 8 years, there's not really been too many things that bothered me. I do recall when the TV series came out for When They See Us.
Oh yeah.
Ava DuVernay. And I think it was 4-part series. And I remember I watched it. I was kind of like a junkie on it.
Yeah, I remember we talking about this in the office.
Right. And so I was, I think I digested it so much and so soon that I kind of carried that into work.
Oh, you totally did. I know exactly how you felt. Like, I feel like I absorbed some of your trauma.
Okay, right. And
as a work spouse.
right. And that's a great work spouse too. Right. When you can take on some and carry the load. Yeah, so for that to kind of invade my peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember carrying it to work, and it's a social issue. It's it just got resurrected again. In terms of being put out in the public eye, and I, for once, I kind of wanted to talk about that with a coworker. Just see, get a feel who saw it. And there was like 2 coworkers I was able to talk with, and we just just rapped for a good 30 minutes to an hour. Just breaking down that issue, comparing it to times now, things of that nature. But then you have colleagues who, cannot relate. Going back to last week's topics, they can't relate to the issues or injustices or things like that. And I just remember being bothered so bad. And so that is a time that I can recently call a social issue, bringing it to work. And I would say it did impact my productivity for work that day.
It did?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? So why did it affect you so heavily?
Because what happens is, and I think you're this way. We may talk like this. We might have talked about it before, but when now we have access to more research. So even when a documentary comes on, whether it's about Walmart, whether it's about McDonald's, whether it's about a killing or whatever, I have to do additional research
to find out the actual true details or what.
More details, because we have access to all these details. We have access to third, second party research and things like that.
So you want to access the details and kind of have your own perspective and not take the perspective on what's given to you.
Right. Yeah. You want to. Yeah. And then also you want to see how close was the documentary or the story to actually what's been reported in the records and things that you can kind of balance it off of. So yeah, and I get kind of infatuated. That's not just with social issues. That's with movies too. Like I was watching. There's on Netflix Molly. What's it called? Molly's Game or something like that.
Oh, I saw that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Molly's Game. Then I remember.
Those type of. Oh, you remember the storyline like in the news.
Yeah. So it's like then I go back and I read about it, find out about who's the character that they're actually talking about. I look at, I just do just a little more background, and that's just the way I am with everything, whether it's a sports story.
But you get invested.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're empathic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But rarely do I bring it to work, except for that instance.
Yeah, because you definitely brought that to work. I don't know who else you spoke to, but I remember you saying something distinctly like, man, you can't talk to can't talk to everybody about these things.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was interesting. It was like, well, who have you been talking to before I was here about these things? Not to come across, like, I guess I could have come across a little like, oh, I didn't talk with nobody. But it was also like, well, why aren't you able to connect with other people? Why aren't they able to relate or have these conversations? So, but once I got to know the individuals at work, I understood why you couldn't have that type of closeness or that level of dialogue with certain individuals. Even though some were Black, so like they were of color, I should say.
Yeah.
In particular, so yeah, I mean, that Ava DuVernay's When They See Us or How They See Us, When They See Us.
Yeah.
A documentary was very like powerful, like in just watching how more so just like every day more and more to see how the justice system kind of fails people of color, but want to highlight them as like more criminals. So it's just like, but you don't really help them either. So it's almost like you want to paint the picture that people of color are always doing something wrong or are criminals overall and so forth. So
another thing that I thought of is like, because we go to work, we do the water cooler talk. A lot of people when they get to work on a Monday over the weekend after a long weekend or whatever, they may go in and check their emails, but then I think the average person, they may kind of conversate for the first hour to catch up with the coworkers before they actually get into production. And it seemed like it's easy, to talk about drama shows, talk about sports, other things that's going on, top model, whatever, or but then if there was an injustice killing or a wrongful death lawsuit or something like that going on that's prominent, like those are things we just don't discuss.
Why do you think that is? Or what has been your experience? Because I'm sure it will look different for everyone.
Yeah, it is different based on the culture of your workplace. Absolutely. But most of my settings have been, predominantly government settings. It's a little bit more balanced in terms of the cultural. Prior to that, I was probably around more dominant. Well, I was probably less minorities, I should say. But now I think it's probably I might work with more minorities. So I think the culture has a lot to do with it. But other than that, I think one thing, some people don't want to be convinced to change their stance.
I didn't look at it that way. People don't want to be convinced to basically change their already made up opinion about how things are or what took place.
Right. I mean, we don't talk about politics too much on the show, but there's just some Trump supporters who they don't want to see it another way. There's some supporters of cops and things like that, and the boys in blue, and they don't want to ever view it as them not using the right protocol.
Right.
It's always, oh no, they were scared.
Yeah. It's always defending them, but not the innocent.
Right. So sometimes we can't get into that dialogue at work. But to me, it's like, for us, my mom told me this a long time ago, and I really kind of stuck with me. It's like the purpose of education is to gain a greater perspective.
I agree. Knowledge,
and to be truly rich.
Yes.
You should have an understanding and sympathy for people who came up in a different kind of environment, and you can understand why they're operating the way that they are.
Right.
But there's a lot of people, and they say they're educated and things like that, but they fail to see that there's systems that are put in place to hinder, systems that are put in place to cause a cycle or a repeat effect of bad behavior or just a sense of being stuck. And if we are truly educated and having these conversations, I could come to work with you, and I have to be, if we're on the two opposite sides of an argument, I have to be willing to be convinced, to be swayed based on.
I see. You have to be open enough to see a different perspective than your own.
Right. Yeah. So you and I, if we're going back and forth about a killing or back and forth about a wrongdoing, something like that, and we're on different sides of the line, engaging with you, I have to let the facts determine speak. Right. Yeah. And even though I'm passionate about it, and like even like R. Kelly, I'm passionate. I love R. Kelly, but the facts that are coming out, and it's like I've been swayed.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, even though I went into the documentary saying, "Oh no, this guy, the guy," after the facts being presented, like, oh man,
or seeing personal stories of their relationship with this person in particular. Okay, yeah.
But most people, when they go into a debate or go into a conversation and we're on opposite sides, they don't. Their hearts are so hardened they can't even let in a different perspective. They can't.
That's kind of what happened, similar to that actor who had that movie, and he went on an interview and talked about how someone close to him was raped by a Black guy, and he wanted to go and kill every Black guy that he saw, or get revenge. I don't know if those were actually his words, so don't quote me. But it was something into the point where he wanted to get revenge on a Black guy because his friend experienced being raped by a person of color of some sort. I don't really know the whole story, so but I remember it was a big, huge thing.
Was it Liam Neeson or was it?
Yes. Okay. Liam, yeah. Yep, that's the actor. Yeah.
I was just watching Taken last night, but go ahead.
Yeah, but the movie it wasn't Taken. It was called it was another movie because I actually happened to see it, and it was basically about. Because he mentioned that personal story because the movie was about his child in the movie being killed by like a drug lord or something like that. And he wanted to get revenge on the entire time he was getting revenge on everyone that the drug lord was associated with to get to the drug lord that killed his child. So it was a bad representation of, trying to relate it to the movie. Because it was like he was trying to get revenge on someone that had done harm to his family, but it was a bad example that he gave.
Yeah, and I think even back to the point in terms of being willing to be open to different opinions. I think even like in personal life, I can like when you are dating someone and you have your first heated discussion. You're not gonna. Of course, we don't agree on everything, and everything's going great in the beginning, and he's just so nice. Yeah. Just man, it's like I have no complaints. But once you guys come across that first heated discussion and on different sides of the argument, it's like what makes a good relationship is you have to be able to be persuasive.
You have to be able to argue, to argue together, like. So that's kind of like, that's important that you said it because that's kind of like on my deal breaker list at the top is like, So I always say to friends is like, I don't truly know you until I see how you fight. And that's basically what I mean is what you describe is like, I'm not with someone. I don't take the dating seriously until I see how they fight. Once I have an idea of how you fight is the only way I can consider you in forward movement of seriousness, exclusivity, anything of that sort. But other than that, I just feel like I don't know who you are. The relationship isn't really real until I see that because that one argument can change the whole trajectory of our relationship. I may not want to be with you anymore after knowing sometimes your stance or your response to certain things that may not be in your favor.
Yeah. And the funny thing, I have the same philosophy. The relationship does not until we have our first argument.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know you had that philosophy. That's interesting because some people think I'm crazy.
Yeah, we're just in la la land until then.
Right. Because some people think I'm crazy when I say that. They were like, "What?" I was like, "No, you learn so much about a person. You learn so much about what they recall that you said. You learn so much about what they'll say when they're upset." Because they can no longer think about what it exactly they're going to say and how they're going to come across. You learn so much about someone in like that one particular situation through the course of the entire time you have been getting to know them. It's like almost like enlightening.
Yeah.
So yeah, but going back to conversations in the workplace, I have found that I'm not open to having certain conversations with certain individuals in the workplace. More so, not because that I don't want to have it. It's because and going back to the same thing about the private work life and professional work life, personal versus professional work life, I have to make sure that this individual don't decide to judge me or treat me a certain way after. especially given their position of power within the work environment. Now, some colleagues I don't care about if I express myself and they have a difference of opinion than I do. But when it comes to some senior people or others in hierarchy, I become a little bit more concerned with sometimes expressing myself because I feel like there's so many layers to it. And I don't even know if you recognize that about my personality when we had worked together, which was kind of like, I always feel like I encounter this sometimes in the office environment, whereas like, I really don't like for everyone to know my true personality. And I know that may not sound authentic. I know that may not sound genuine, but I really don't like for everyone to know it because I want some people to just strictly know me as professional. Whereas I may want just one or two coworkers to know me as professional and on a personal level, whether that's friendly or what have you. It's because those people that I want to get to know me personally, we have been in more conversations outside of just our professional environment. So therefore, it alleviates any room or sometimes unforeseen room where we can't have that conversation if we don't agree, or we can't come to terms and say, hey, agree to disagree, but we can still kind of have a conversation to hash it out or move forward. Whereas with some people professionally, they can just have their opinion and be like, well, forget it, I don't care. And then they can take it out on you because if they're higher ranking than you, make all these, silly requests of you or just make your job harder because you just don't agree with them. Because let's be honest, that happens already professionally.
Yeah.
Professionally, if you're not kind of like, they don't see that you don't agree with the way they do things or so forth, you're a target. So I feel like in an environment, to be less of a target, I try not to even have those relationships. But I have recognized that people in professional environments observe your relationships with others, especially if they don't have the same relationship with others. And kind of I guess it's like what's the word I want to use? I guess I want to say like the more frustrating part is that they kind of direct their frustration to the wrong person.
So do you think, sticking to what you're saying,
mm-hmm.
So do you think that leadership, employers, do you think they prefer people who have the same mindset and philosophies as them versus?
It's totally contingent upon the person and the environment, but you never know those things until shit hits the fan, to be honest. Like you don't really know until you're like, oh, you didn't like that. Well, now I see, because then they'll start treating you differently or, talking to you differently. They won't address you the same. I mean, this is really how things have happened. So it really just depends on the type of person that they are, because I've been in a lot of places where they're like, oh, I have an open door policy. And they really don't understand the idea of an open door policy. So it's just misleading. It's just something to say to appear that way. Or as a representative for like, I'm this type of person, and you're really not that open, honest person that someone can really come to you and talk about things to, and then not go somewhere else, or you're not trustworthy with that information to understand the perspective. You're judging the situation or the person.
So on a percentage of 100%, how much are you your true self at work?
I would, for people that I don't want to be close to, probably not a lot. I would say 50% or less.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really like, and I think I even had like a coworker that I met. She and I are still friends to this day, and her knowing me professionally and knowing me personally is a different vantage point from even people who are close to me, who are my friends, because they assume that I go to work with the same personality that I have as in our friendship. And it's total opposites. So it's interesting how people think you have the same personality as a friend at work than you do at home, whereas at work, I really try to stay to myself. I may only have one or two people at work that I hang out with, but I feel like when you're at work, you still can't even kind of play that game because others recognize that. And if you're talking to someone that everyone else likes in the office or want to get to know, they're going to want to know why you talk to that person, why the person talking to you. I want to know what they're talking about. I want to be a part of what the conversation is, and they'll get upset.
Gotcha.
So when it comes to certain people at work, no, I just give them the professional, hey, how's it going? Make a little small cooler talk. Like you mentioned, how was your weekend? Oh, great, that's nice. Some give a little bit more information than others. I'll entertain it, but to a certain level, and then I'm moving on.
Have you had coworkers that when you're currently working at that organization, have you seen them try to befriend you like on social media?
Oh, yeah.
So what's your policy on that?
It depends on how close I am to them.
Okay. If you just, on a hi and bye, you see them in the staff and you say hi, but you never really had a hard conversation with them, and you saw them try to befriend you on social media, what would you do?
Not accept the request. No, and probably even block them. Because I don't, depending on how private or public, most of my social media pages are public. And that's on purpose because people like, oh, you're private. They think that you can be a little bit more loose with your words. I always want to be cautious of what I'm putting out to the world in general. For me, that's more so why I'm public. And also for me, I don't feel the need to have to put such private things publicly. I have close people around me that I can talk to and vent about those things. I have conversations with coworkers that I have a, more private relationship than others that I can vent to and talk to about those things. So I'm just like, if it's not a coworker that I'm really cool with or a colleague that I'm okay with, or we want to chat, or we have seen each other outside of work, I don't really entertain a social media request.
Have you ever made a statement on social media that was related to like social injustice or?
Yeah, social injustice, work injustice, work, people at work. Yeah, I haven't directly said something. You know how you can indirectly say something crazy, but if someone in your office saw that, conversation or what you said, they'll know. Have you done that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm very.
Has someone in the office seen it before? Like, did they ever witness you saying that and then like, oh, he feel this way?
Well, honestly, I just got on social media in 2017. So
okay, 3 years ago.
Or as you know, because you still try to tell me how to work some gadgets and things like that. So, so with that being said, even though I think I post a lot, and a lot of it I post because I'm on different coasts and just keeping things, conversations going and things like that.
Yeah, I think you like the conversation aspect. You're open to others people's opinion.
Yeah, but I don't like private, like in terms of like blasting like something in home. Like I don't do that, or or talk about how sad I am or something like that. Yeah,
you have boundaries basically of what you expose.
I have boundaries, but I'm not afraid to share a post or say something that was wrong, that's gone. No, I mean, okay, I think that's part of me. Because one thing I think about me, it's hard for me I'm just not in the business of faking, in terms of like, even if I'm at work and I'm around a different background group, whether they're older or different demographics. Like I said, if somebody says a bad joke and it's not funny, I'm not gonna laugh. If somebody says something,
but that's different if some says something different or they look at you.
I mean, well, it goes to just faking. If somebody says something rude and I feel like, it needs to be checked, I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
If somebody brings up something that's going on in the world and say, hey, the cops were justified, I'm gonna challenge, like make them think. So it's like, yeah, I just can't sit. I don't sit back for, like, I can't fake it. So, because you can fake it by being silent.
Yeah, and I was going to say, do you think that's maybe been because of how your environments have been? Like, you felt open to do that? Have you ever been, well, I guess the question was, have you ever been in an environment where you have said something that hasn't been in favor of a person's opinion and saw them treat you differently and they had the position and power to do so?
I think when I say something, when I say something, I'm willing to deal with the repercussions and the reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you a story, and this is
give it. I love it. I like real life examples.
Yeah, but this is going to be a little. Let me make sure that this is the right story I want to.
Why? Just go ahead now. Now I'm intrigued to know because you're already prefacing it with like these precautionary measures.
Okay, so I've always been the type just speak my mind, but not.
Yeah. Well, you are. I guess for you speak your mind, but it's also within limits. Like it's not always, it's not all the time. But the overall, you'll speak your mind and your opinion just as the other person would, because that's kind of like what's really happened. We discussed this in a previous episode. Like, and you do the same back in return.
Right, and you gotta be willing to deal with the reaction. Even like in like my personal life, like I cheated on my girlfriend. I was probably late teens. I could have been 18. I might have been 19.
Okay.
So I might have been 19 years old. And a matter of fact, I was living with her.
Okay.
And I'm not really a good liar. Like if somebody knows the truth and they're bringing the truth, then it's hard for me to just laugh. You know, I'll laugh it off just because you found out. Like,
okay,
I'm sorry laughing. So it's like I would volunteer information and just deal with the repercussions and just deal. Okay. And just say what I want. You know what? I did cheat on you because of blah, 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 blah. And I would just disregard her feelings and really just speak how I feel, whether it hurts, and just deal with her pain or deal with her action and things like that. I think that's the way I've always been. So going back to the topic, so if I can't be true to myself, like being quiet when I know that normally I would say something, it would bother me, like, oh, I should have said something. So I would probably beat myself up. Shoot, I should have said something when I saw that man, you know, going off on his son for no reason in public.
Oh, okay. I just said say something like your opinion or something, but you're saying like actually some action or some sort. Okay.
Yeah, even action, or if somebody, you know, said, I mean, there's been so many killings, you know, if somebody was on the other side of the argument and they were trying to say that it was justified, and it's obvious that wasn't a justified killing.
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna let that just sit in the air. Right. Whether it was a older colleague that was Caucasian or Asian, I'm just not gonna let that wrong information sit in the air.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, I get that. I think for me, it just depends on a situation or circumstance. Sometimes I will not waste my time speaking with someone or giving them my opinion fully. I may give them my opinion briefly. And what I mean by that is like, oh yeah, I don't necessarily agree that that's okay, you know, and they could be like, well, da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't think that's right because of X, Y, and Z, you know, yada, yada, yada. But then I may take the conversation to a coworker who I have a relationship, a more close relationship with, and say, can you believe such and such believe this? Blah, 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 blah. And then we can have dialogue, whether or not they agree with them or disagree, but I just feel like I would take it to someone who knows me better. And I think that's more so because of my personal experiences in the work environment. They haven't necessarily been so favorable to my personality type. So I have learned to kind of like pull back on a lot of things that I discuss with certain individuals. And that's just really being honest to truth. I feel like I still am genuine, or I'll say something, but I'm still sometimes a little bit more, I withheld like my true intentions or true conversations that I would have, because I just kind of scope the environment. Like, can I even go this deep with this person for them to even understand this? Should I just kind of keep my opinion surface? Because it's like arguing with a fool. You become a fool too.
Like, that's a good point. And I'm glad you said that, because I do remember working in a warehouse or somewhere in 2008. And
Were you here or in California at the time?
California, in 2008, and Obama just got elected to president.
Oh, prime time, yep.
And I remember going into the warehouse. You know, it's a bunch of men in there, and there was a older white man. I think his name was Bob or something like that or whatever. And he had to be probably about 62.
Oh, older.
Yeah, older. Had to be 62. He probably only had one more year until he retires. And you know, just 20 years military, retired, and just Texas feel, like that big old, you know, country type feel. And he was upset about Obama.
Oh, and wow.
Comes to work and he's talking, oh, this country is going to hell.
Oh, okay.
I think he did something to the American flag that he had.
Oh.
So he was just reacting. And
strong feelings.
He's just reacting. And it's like some guys were like kind of like saying stuff to him, and he was going back and forth. So then I just kind of, back to what you're saying, you know, am I going to jump in there, or can you just feel that you'll be arguing with the fool?
Yeah.
So it's like, so there's plenty of times where it's like, you know, you just got to assess the situation. You know, this person right here, he doesn't really have perspective, or, you know, or they're just, you know,
or he's only available for his own perspective and those who think the same as he do.
Right. So do you ever feel sorry for people who kind of been sheltered and they just don't know? Like
sorry? I don't really feel sorry for a lot of people, to be honest with you. And I have a girlfriend who does a lot. And she kind of give me a different perspective on that, because she's like, kind of like what you said, like, who don't kind of have or understand or haven't been around this group of people. Like how most people would assume middle America is, whereas they may not be around people of color a lot. So they may not have the perspective of those of color. But I don't think that's excuse for ignorance. If in fact that you ever are concerned about anything, given the world that we have, you can learn about it, you can find out about it, you can read about it, you can call someone and ask them where you can get it. I think it's more so your ignorance when you choose not to understand the perspective outside of your own, and then have this overarching opinion about something because you have then allowed ignorance to consume you and not gather any further information. Or have that conversation with someone if they are in front of you, or you're having a disagreement back and forth. Like that, what happened to you in that warehouse with that person, that would have been a perfect time for him to have a open dialogue with people to say, why is this important to you that this man is president? What does it matter to you? But I don't honestly think a person like the person that you mentioned in the warehouse cared. He knew why it's important to you. He just don't care because he's backed by a different system that his beliefs involve.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Like he don't have any care or empathy or humility to understand another perspective, because he simply just do not want to.
Right. Yeah. And I think, and just going off what you said, I think, the type of person you need to be, you know, and not being on the ignorant side, is you should be hungry for the knowledge. I give you an example. Growing up, you know, we always heard about, you know, the injustice of being done to Black people. You know, we were studying all the things that it's associated with coming up in America, and you know, slaves. And,
being enslaved for over 400 plus years.
Right. Yeah, and you know, and you always, and as a kid, you know, you always think, oh man, Black people had it so hard, blah, blah, blah. But then I remember somebody saying, well, the Indians had it hard too. And, you know, and instead of me saying, oh, no, Black people have it hard, you know, I had to look it up. Like, what did the Indians have to go through?
Yeah.
And so, you know, so it goes back to, like, you do have to become knowledgeable and not be ignorant and be like, hey, you know, there's more things going on just outside of your own little world, outside your own experiences.
It's the same with the Holocaust. Like people will say the same thing with Holocaust. It's so many injustices that has taken place outside of African Americans or African, people or Black people, people of color. It's just that it has not stopped. We have not received things, and we were the longest within the injustice and still fighting for it. And that's kind of like the whole overarching of it all.
Correct. I 100% agree. And also, it's been repackaged and reformed in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what people think. People think just because we're not in physical shackles, shackles actually still there.
Spot on. You're spot on. And that's why people are concerned, or that's why they have such, levels of frustration, is because nothing has really changed because of what you said. You just simply have repackaged the same thing, but to fit just the modern day times.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So it sucks. It does suck, but we have to deal with these people even when they don't want to change their opinion, even when they're not open to doing so. Because I cannot honestly say that it doesn't happen in the office environment. Like I go into an office environment and hoping that everyone believes in equality. And when I say equality, meaning like also with race, not just with age or sex and so forth. But if it's not equality, because I think some people don't even understand that they can be a little prejudiced to certain things when it comes to equality. Like I think sometimes men and women, saying both, don't recognize how prejudiced they are to having a man in charge, or having a woman in charge, or having a younger person in charge versus the older person in charge. Like it's so much prejudice that happens in the office environment. It's almost like, it's so frustrating to me because I feel like I've experienced it or seen someone experience it. And it's just like, I don't even know how to come here every day and manage work because I'm now trying to manage prejudice against things that's out of my control.
Yeah. So in those situations, do you find yourself on the side speaking up about it or coaching people through it? Like if you like are aware of two people doing the same position, same qualifications, but they're not getting paid the same amount, and they're different genders or sex, like does it bother you where to the point where you may like, hey, well, I guess you can't, you have to be in a position to really impact.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean, even if it was some other sort, because of course I wouldn't necessarily pay, right. But I can see treatment. I can see, you can see those things. Yeah, I do find myself being bothered by it all the time. But it's almost like also, it's just like, if you kind of speak up, you kind of put yourself in a risky spot to lose your job too. So, and to the point where like literally in life, like I'm at the point where it's just like, oh, I'll lose, like I'm known for losing my job for shit that has nothing to do with me not completing my task that I was hired to do. Like I'm more so known to lose my job for not being involved with work-related duties, which is prejudice in its own. Like you have so many. Say it again.
You think you have more personality differences than professional?
I don't think it's necessarily my personality differences. I think it's more so that people just not accepting that I don't have the same personality as them. Because I'm dealing with the personality difference all the time. If I have to deal with, if you're in an office environment, you have to deal with someone's personality difference too. I think it's more so the overarching of power. Like people want you to just deal with them as they feel like they want to be, you need to deal with them, or whereas there's no respect exchanged. Respect should be exchanged regardless of your position.
I think there's a degree of conformity that happens.
Yeah.
And are you willing to bend? Are you not bending enough?
Well, no. Well, that's always going to be subjective to whomever the person is and how they want you to bend. But you won't ever necessarily know that until you're out of a job. I hate to say that because no one's going to be like, you're not bending the way I want you to bend, because it sounds insane. It sounds ludicrous, because they would then recognize their actions are not necessarily in the right place. But in any job, you have to conform. I find myself to be an adaptable person overall, but there's also things that I just don't feel like that's okay. So we may all.
if you found yourself on the side of being terminated a few times, and you're not saying it's your work ethics or your punctuality or things like that. I mean, you're not saying it's your personality. You're not saying you're not. Well, you don't know if you're conforming enough. What would you pinpoint? What is the common denominator? What would you pinpoint?
The environment. Like you don't know environment until you get there. So it never looks the same, but it's always personal. So that's kind of like, if it never looks the same and it's always personal, and I don't go into every environment being the same person that I was in the previous environment, because then I'm not adapting to my new environment.
Right.
It's personal. It should not be personal, whether or not whatever is going on. I know for my personality, I'm not going to work disrespecting no one. I'm not going to work just not doing things the way people want things done if I'm at a job. I'm strictly okay with going to a job or going into a place or an environment and saying, hey, this is how you want it done, sure, doing it. But I realize that some people look at those things as in like, okay, you need me to do this as a challenge. Then they make all these kind of expectations on you, and they don't expect to have questions. So it's more so like, it's a lot of nuances that go into it that I don't think those type of situations pinpoint one person other than just like, or one particular person like is way heavily doing another, other than just the environment.
Gotcha.
Other than just like, the environment is the way that it is. You will never win against their environment because they have a justifiable reason to say, you're not doing the job the way I want you to do it in this environment, when that's not the even mindset they should have.
I got you.
So, and that's kind of really more so been my experience as a contractor. Like I've learned how, like, I feel like people who know that they have your job and you're at will, they take more advantage of that. When I was a government employee, I've never had like anything said negatively about my work ethics. I've always been praised, kudos, given awards. So now I recognize when people are more so in position of power, they will exhaust that because they have that power.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
So yeah, it's more so of a game of being like, sometimes you can sit there and be docile and not say nothing. Sometimes you can still be a target because you're sitting there being docile. so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so then I guess, so then I guess it's important, to make sure that the culture that you choose, that you work for, really works for you.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people look at it as a job, as a means. I can feed myself, I can pay my bills. I'm employed, and that's that's important. So, moving on to this, going back to like the social issues and expressing that, and if you disagreeing with coworkers, how do you handle the disagreement with a coworker who's just kind of like not bending or flexing on? How have you managed that? I mean, for myself, I have just, said, okay, I respectfully agree to disagree. This is my opinion. This is my perspective. It seems to be we have two different perspectives. Because usually your opinion sometimes is directly relates to your experiences, and sometimes how the conversation is going to
that's good, right?
Be involved, and how much depth you can actually go with the individual. And the same with, like you mentioned, our topic last week of relatability, like your experiences. It matters, relatability sometimes, and how you relate to someone outside of appearance, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I think with colleagues, each relationship is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I have a colleague and we have argued about sports or something else, I feel like, and we already have a style of arguing.
Okay.
Then even if it's a social issue, I would feel comfortable arguing within that style.
So do you think that you should only argue with those people who have the same style as you in the office environment, because it can get a little hasty and a little
it could get a little hasty, and like I said, like in a couple of episodes, I remember discussing with a younger Caucasian girl. We were on different sides of the argument, and I can see that, okay, maybe I was coming a little bit too hard, like we at the family reunion. So I'm kind of back down a little bit. So I think at work, I can, turn the sauce down, turn the heat down. And I won't engage if I just feel like it's not gonna go nowhere. But I like to think that I could present at least some decent facts to make you think, or just challenge your thinking.
Yeah.
If I don't know the topic, then I'm not going to say nothing.
Right.
So.
Well, if I don't know the topic, I'll just ask questions to get a better understanding.
So you gotta really gauge who you're arguing with, because how they're gonna receive it, what they're gonna do with it,
or how they flip it. Arguing is like a game of telephone. What you said and what they perceive and how they digest it and regurgitate it is going to be totally different than what you said and how you received it. So.
Yeah, it can be delicate. At work it can be delicate.
Very. I've learned that it's much more delicate than people give it to be.
No, because then people would say, or take your argument and twist it, or take it to somebody who agrees with them. Then all of a sudden, people are against you off of an opinion you had about some teacher spanking a kid at school.
Yeah. No, that's very valid. That's exactly what I mean. Overall is what you said. That part is like, and that's just not even at work. That's just in life in general, in personal life too. Like, you take certain maybe relationship issues to certain people because you want certain answers. And it's the same way with work. Why you think it's going to be different at work for people who at work? They're going to take it to someone who knows will side with them or have the same opinion, until you have that person who's like, well, wait, I've actually worked with this person, or I've had conversations with this person. What did you say? Then they'll start to question what the actual details were, versus just taking what they said. So, but that's again, go back to what you were saying as far as like the guy in the warehouse. Like, you have to be open to hearing that perspective and not just taking what you hear like as face value. You have to question the questioner, like kind of like that type situation. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah. So I think we at that time.
We are, yes. We wrapping it up. I guess, I feel like we covered a lot of regarding like social workplace and home. Maybe we didn't get too much dive into home stuff. We didn't get relationships as far as staying up for your rights, as David would say. I can say I don't do that much standing up for my rights. David seems to do a lot more of it. Maybe that'll come with age, but at my age, I've learned that I'm just not willing to fight with fools. I'm more so just okay with having that professional environment or professional personality with more people at work than a slim few.
Right. And in my closing words is, words do have power. So be willing to sleep and lay with what you say.
That's a good last word, David. So for that, until next time, coworkers.
That's all for today's episode of Work Spouse.
We would love for you to subscribe and leave a review. We welcome all feedback.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WorksPousePod, or email us with any questions at thyworkspouse@gmail.com. That's THYWORKSPOUSE@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe for updates on future shows.
Until next time, coworkers.